Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Herr Krishna. Herzlich willkommen. Ich weiß nicht welche Sprache, weil Eva spricht kein Englisch, oder? Ein bisschen. Es ist immer in Überraschungen. Jemand sagt, sie spricht kein Englisch und dann ich fange an zu sprechen. Und nein. Okay, so ich will den Vers natürlich in Sanskrit und dann in Englisch lesen. Ich gebe dir das Buch und dann vielleicht probiere mal in Deutsch zu sprechen. Das ist das Wichtige, ja, genau. So, today, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, Text 44. Okay. Nirahankriti nimamascha. Nirahankriti nimamascha. Ist da, oder? Okay, sorry. There's only a few of us, so a little louder. Huh? But I know that it's a little difficult, this verse. It's a little like... Yeah? Nirahankriti nimamascha. Nitvandva samadrik svadrik. Nitvandva samadrik svadrik. Pratak prashanta diri diraha. Pratyak prashanti diri diraha. Prashantami vodadi. Prashantami vodadi. Nirankriti nimamascha. Mamascha. Nitvandvaha samadrik svadrik. Pratak prashantya diraha. Pratak prashanta diraha. Prashantami vodadi. Nirahankriti. Nira. Oh, we repeat. Oh, word by word. Oh, sorry. You want to read the verse? Okay, sorry. Nirankriti nimamascha. Nivandva samadrik swadrik. Pratyak prashanta didiraha. Prashantami vodalhi. Okay, give it a go. Yeah, no, so ein k. Nira, I break the first word into two words because it's a little tough. Nira, hankriti. So without false ego. Nirma, nirmama, nirma. Without material affection. Ja and nirna dvandavaha. Without duality. Samadrik, seeing equality. Swadrik, seeing himself. Pratyak, turned inward. Prashanta, perfectly composed. Dihi, mind. Diraha, sober, not disturbed. Prashanta, calmed. Urmihi, whose waves. Eva, like. Udadihi, the ocean. Thus he gradually became affected by the false ego of material identity and became free from material affection. Undisturbed, equal to everyone, and without duality, he could indeed see himself also. His mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm, like an ocean unagitated by waves. So purport. When one's mind is in full Krishna consciousness and one fully engages in rendering devotional service to the Lord, he becomes just like an ocean unagitated by waves. This very example is also cited in Bhagavad Gita. One should become like the ocean. The ocean is filled by many thousands of rivers, and millions of tons of its water evaporates into clouds. Yet the ocean is the same unagitated ocean. The laws of nature may work, but if one is fixed in devotional service at the lotus feet of the Lord, he is not agitated, for he is introspective. He does not look outside to material nature, but he looks into the spiritual nature of his existence. With a sober mind, he simply engages in the service of the Lord. Thus he realizes his own self without false identification with matter and without affection for material possessions. Such a great devotee is never in trouble with others, because he sees everyone from the platform of spiritual understanding. He sees himself and others in the right perspective. So once again, the translation. Amrita, I don't know if I can do this in German. Can you, would you mind, would you mind to translate for Eva? Because the others understand English. Okay. So, thus he gradually became unaffected by the false ego of material identity and became free from material affection. Undisturbed, equal to everyone and without duality, he could indeed see himself also. His mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm, like an ocean unagitated by waves. Very nice. So, a small example. So, in the verse, there is this line. This example is cited in Bhagavad Gita. One should become like the ocean. The ocean. Huh? We're making a small series online, and it's different poetry. And an older devotee, she wrote, please, her prayer was, please, dear Lord, let my mind be peaceful even when I am in a storm. Huh? We also hear this is such a beautiful, beautiful verse and purport. It's on this vision of an ocean. Huh? The ocean is so great, so big, and yet things happen and things are thrown in it. Huh? Everything is going, but yet it remains the ocean. And in this example, we can understand the throes of material world. Huh? I've said it a few times, but I'll say it again. I have not met anybody yet who told me they have no problems or have had not problems to face. Huh? The problem is, but what do we do with them? Huh? How can we possibly find happiness when things are covering our consciousness? What is that point? We're here. Most of us experience in the first month or 2 months of being in the temple, one can say almost like spiritual ecstasy. Oh, wonderful, hey, Jay, morning program, yes, see the Lord, deity, service, prasadam. Wow, yeah, you know that all of you experience this actually. It's great. Huh? And I also experienced this when we came. And over time, just like in the reality of the situation, things crowd in. One doesn't know where it begins. But somehow the happiness falls away a little, or sometimes a lot. Sometimes it's not so clear to see. Other things start to creep in. And in a moment, we hear these purports, when one's mind is in full Krishna consciousness, he becomes just like an ocean unagitated by waves. And we start to think, oh, yeah, that's okay for Kadama Muni, yeah? It's okay. He's like a renowned sage. What hope is there for me, just like some little nobody. Hello, ich bin Gopi Gita. What you want? I came from the Western world, lived a life in a way as innocent and as nicely as I can, but the world is not innocent. So we get fallen into different things. So what is it that's going on? And a very nice word here that it uses is that the sage is not agitated, for he is introspective. Is it also the same word in German, Amrita? Is it introspective? Yeah? Okay, nice. So what does it mean to be introspective? I shall give you a nice dictionary definition. So introspection is the observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. Or from a renowned English dictionary, examining your own thoughts, ideas and feelings. A vision of being introspective is probably something I've worked with most of my life, actually. So it's very nice that it's also in Shastra. It's the element of being able to look within oneself, being the observer. Hare Krishna, Nandimuki. Please give your blessings. Thank you very much. So the idea of being introspective is this vision of looking within oneself, but without judgment, just observing and seeing to enable us to come to the next step. A very small example is you're sitting and your stomach is rumbling. It's hungry, I'm hungry. When is prasadam time? Was Gopi Gita speaking? I'm just thinking hungry. So, okay, you stop, you think, okay, I'm hungry. Okay, but lecture never goes on more than 9 o'clock. If I'm lucky, maybe it's a little earlier. Sorry. And then I will be able to eat. But I know that food will come at that moment in time. Okay? So it's all right. Yesterday was a fasting day. It was also such a day. Fasting. Okay, 12 o'clock. 2 hours. 1 hour. Okay, no. Think of Krishna. Think of Krishna. Huh? So this is a moment where one just looks at one's own inner thoughts. It's not necessarily just feelings, but one's own processes to be able to go to the next step. And as you know, we make it a little interactive so that hopefully the main point of it being interactive is that you can also take something away from you. You have to go at a certain time? Oh, nice. Okay, so we do the activity now, so and then you can maybe hear after as you reflect. Nice. Okay. So today we have partner work. It's good if you have a partner that's not your sister. So this is very nice, like a whole just a changer, just to change it up a little bit. And maybe, for example, Nandimukhi and Amrita can go together, for example, and then you choose. Would you mind to go close to a partner? No? I think Eva and Nina, maybe, together. Is okay? So Nina, vielleicht du gehst in diese Richtung. Soll ich probieren in Deutsch machen? Yeah. Or Amrita, you go to Nandimukhi, huh? You can swap here. Paper, we need paper and a little piece of paper. You have, I saw you had a box in your hand, and I was hoping it wasn't a parcel for you. So this following exercise is a practical one on introspection, but it follows a lot of different things which are a part of our process and what we do. Look, Nandimukhi, this verse is about an ocean. I painted an ocean. Did you see? Yeah, that it should become as an ocean. Okay, so it's okay. Everyone up for an exercise, a short exercise? Keep us awake. So get comfortable. It doesn't go into too much meditation. It goes in a different direction today. But please bear with me. It's all in the... So close your eyes though still. And please, without judgment, try to reflect over today or the last days, the last week, and bring to your consciousness, or perhaps it's already there, think of something that is troubling you, perhaps. It may be something small or big. It could be, I don't know, about being the wrong weight or not getting up on time or health, but something that may be a little troubling to you. Also, please choose a subject that you would feel comfortable to speak to your partner about. Try to allow it. The main point of this, to allow in our consciousness, just to see what is affecting you, which is maybe bringing us away from thoughts of Krishna. So just become conscious. Often it's a reoccurring thought. Just try to hold on to something that gives you trouble, and try just without judgment, as if you're observing from another person, just to consider that issue that is bothering. See if you can formulate it into words. And when you have thought of what it was that's troubling you, I'm sure for most people it should be quite obvious, or something that's going on. Please write it down on paper. If there's many things, try to write one particular thing that maybe have been giving you trouble. And remember, really, it's without judgment. So please try to be honest and open as to what may be going on for you, whatever it may be. Just The next part of this exercise, please continue finishing writing it down if it's there, but the next part of this exercise is that in partner work, each partner will have like 5 minutes. The first partner speaks of the problem, and the other partner tries to think of some suggestions that could help with the problems without judgment and with a compassionate way of perspective. Just some suggestions. The person receiving the suggestions, please just write them down. It doesn't mean that this is the end solution or anything. It's just like brainstorming through an issue or whatever one is having. So I see the ladies here, they've already finished writing. Are you finished writing? Okay, so begin. One partner begins to say the problem. Maybe the one who is on this side of me can begin. So Nandimukhi, Yulia, and Eva can begin to talk of the, briefly speak of the problem, and then try to brainstorm some ways through that. And then we will swap over, okay? And please, possible solutions. For example, you can split them into spiritual or material. So, for example, I will give an example. You can, please just see me as background information. You can already speak. It's just I give you some pointers. Yes, so. So, Yulia, you tell Katerina your. Spiritual solutions may be like praying sincerely, approaching someone, something of your own experience. Material solutions may be, or more on a physical level, may be practically changing something in your life. So 3 more minutes on one partner, then we will swap over. So please write down. And if the other partner stops, try to brainstorm together what it could be, what could be possible solutions. Jai Nishingadev. Please, Lord Nishingadev, help us to find okay, another minute, and then please write down any solutions, even if they are funny or off the wall or helpful. Okay, now please slowly finish that side and let the other partner, so Amrita, Katerina and Nina, talk of their problem, and the other partner try to find possible spiritual and material solutions for this. 2 more minutes, 5 minuten. Go a bit deeper. What could really help this person, huh? I hear a prayer being said here. Okay, 1 more minute. Hey, Sita. So, dear devotees, this exercise was a short one, but just to explain the process, we tried to become conscious of what is going on. There was this famous quote by Srila Prabhupada, in order to become Krishna conscious, we must first be conscious. Then, with compassion, so a well-known devotee quality that we try to have as devotees, we go with compassion, and the sweetest of all was the association that I saw yet between you, so laughing and joking, and some prayers were being said here. Just this element that sometimes, especially I think for Matajis, it brings something very important to us when we associate with one another in a realistic way of what's happening. I also sorry if anything came up which there is not currently the end solution. So, for example, if someone spoke of, I'm not sure of health or of feeling always to be overweight or whatever may come up, or but part of a problem is to be conscious of it. The next part in your life and how we go in our spiritual path is how to deal with it. We generally we have the path of bhakti yoga here, so there are some practicalities, but the other element is a spiritual perspective, right? To then after the lecture at some point to reflect on what your partner was saying to you, and to see, maybe it's something which I can use. You can then also do things like set yourself some realistic goals, how to solve it piece by piece. For example, this example of, for example, say feeling not great. You need a translator. Skin. Ja, vielleicht kannst du bei Amrita gehen, weil Juli muss bald gehen. So this idea of if it's a bigger problem and we're not able to find a solution, to pray sincerely on what's going on. You will hear. Thank you that you're here. Thank you that you were also there, Julia. And to go to the next step, I was also very happy to see, just to find some time that we learn to associate with one another in a compassionate way. I saw nobody looked disturbed or unhappy, so it was just a matter of to go in. In this purport, another beautiful line is, the sage does not look outside to material nature, but he looks into the spiritual nature of his existence. Often when there are issues which are troubling us, we have to find slowly but surely a spiritual perspective. Okay, so we have to find a spiritual perspective to what is affecting us. Hare Krishna. You missed an exercise, Chaturani, but it was one where the Lord arranged that we had all equal partners, so we were 6. So, does anyone want to share anything until this point? So Amrita and Nanimukhi were smiling. I saw quite something. Was it like a... Yeah, please, Nanimukhi. Space, yeah. Really so Nanimukhi is just saying that sort of it's a disturbance sometimes on the altar when you have to offer the bhog and it's little space. Or she could sit before, she could sit, or problem with the knees. Mm. Mm. Yeah, moving until you're comfortable, and that's disturbing further. Yeah, it's very nice because Nanimukhi's example of she wants to serve the Lord nicely, but probably as she sits down, the mind is the physical body is disturbed, huh? So then it's difficult to do 100% on service because there is pain, huh? So different solutions for that's very nice. And Amrita suggested doing this yoga or Srimanjari. I wonder if there's also something, I'm sure there must be many temples like this, whether some cushion or some support can be, sorry, or something, also start to think, some extra support which is like clean, that can be used so that it's not so much pressure on these areas, because there are many senior pujaris across the world. I'm sure they must have, thought of something. Very nice. But it's a small thing, but it's like this. It can change one's whole service or meditation just to have one disturbance that goes on in the class. Huh? Your hands, yeah. One is sort of like stopped in one hand. Clap. It hurts. It hurts to clap, yeah. I remember, Katerina, years ago, in my mid-20s, not so pronounced, but I have a problem with the jaw. So I could not eat things like apples or this, or they also told me I should not talk too much, because it's actually, it's TMJ, it's very, very excruciating, painful here. There's certain problems, TMJ, and it was also difficult to chant. And I remember I was on a japa retreat, actually on a boat, as dramatic as it is, on a boat in Croatia, this japa retreat. And I went to my Guru Maharaj and I said, Guru Maharaj, like, I cannot even chant, like, what of initiation, because it's like hurting. I still managed, but it was like this perspective sometimes devotees have of saying, can we just chant in our heads, but actually one needs to pronounce it. So he sat there and he went through a way that I could move my mouth that was ease this problem, and I could chant. I was like, like really amazed. I had so much respect for him. He sort of there is the way you can, I mean, just don't go into it so much now, but you can move your mouth in a certain way and it eases the pressure there. I was amazed, you know. It was just, and I was like looking, it didn't mean that it stopped the pain. Still had to go with the pain, but there were things that I could do to work through it. It was also, as you have, is like when you have a, what's the word? An ongoing sickness or a condition, it can take up a lot of one's strength and energy. But there are also some lectures I read also about when we are not able to do the things that we want to do to serve Krishna, when we cannot do those externally, internally there is always that possibility. Internally, we have always the perspective or the possibility to turn towards the Lord. And sometimes the Lord gives us such troubles in our life that we take a different perspective on life. I don't say it like, it's like almost, you hear, it says gradually became unaffected. It's not overnight that one goes, oh, it's okay. It's just learning to, sorry. Yeah. So this is where a life of prayer begins. You see, you give your prayers over. This is a time of surrender over to the Lord. I don't say it whimsically. You know, it was really tough time when I had my health problems. And there is a matter there in those moments you think, there's no hope for me. I cannot really do the service I need to do. What am I in the temple? I'm just some, But at one point, you know, I had to think, okay, but what is it? What is this path of bhakti yoga that I'm walking on? This is a path of devotion. This is a path of my relationship, my broken relationship with Sri Krishna. And in that moment, I have to understand, at least theoretically, because in that moment when you're in it, it's really tough, that the Lord loves me no matter what I can do. The Lord also loves me in my inner perspective of how I can serve Him. And in those moments, this is when you saw me when you were more well, when I came to Tulsi Devi to chant. These were terrible inner moments of sickness. But one has to keep going, keep trying. And this is again why I like this word gradually. It is not for most of us that one day suddenly everything is away from us. It is a process of a lifetime, in a process where you stop seeing so much physically or externally, but go more internally, you know, and it's tough. But there is that option, this surrender to the Lord. There were some major problems I faced in life where I saw the Lord reciprocates 100%. I think I mentioned very briefly where I lived with somebody, an Indian couple where the husband was beating his wife regularly, daily. I was living in the same house or next door. I don't go into all of the details, but I helped the situation as far as I could until it was dangerous for me. I left the situation, but every day for a year I prayed to Lord Nrsimhadev. I had this beautiful, huge picture that I had taken from me, or was given to me as a present. And I prayed every day to Lord Nrsimhadev to protect her, to get her out of it. As you know, I've worked in a therapeutical sense, so to escape what is called domestic violence is very, very intricate. It goes in a whole circle. But I prayed every day prayed for her, even without the contact. And one day she called me and she said, finally, actually her sister had come from India and they'd taken him and somehow he got deported back. You know, this was the only way it was going to end with a, you know. And I prayed and I met her and I told her I had prayed for her, you know. And I felt it was Lord Nrsimhadev because it was really in that situation impossible. So when one puts one's faith there, I think it is said that it is not a sign of our devotion by how much physical work we can do. The sign of our devotion is what comes inwardly. What is our relationship with the Lord? Is it deepening? Is it affecting? Don't get me wrong, we're not sitting there like yogis in a cave, but some part we can do to serve the Lord. And with that perspective, it goes deeper. And these just, I can only tell you from my own experience, sometimes you have days where you feel, oh my God, where is my faith? And when one feels like this, our option as devotees is to go to the Lord and be honest with Him. I'm sorry, I should have more faith in you, Lord, but somehow it's a little lacking. Please help me with this. Please help me. Because I don't know. And to go to the Lord with issues where you're wanting to serve Him, but you don't know how, or it's the best thing. Believe me, I spent 6 months on one problem in the office when I was a treasurer like Amrita. One problem. Nobody could help me. I went to the temple president. I went to everybody who knew about banking stuff. Nobody knew. And one day I just went, as simple as it may say, it was the same sort of, it kept repeating the letter. I just said, dear Lord, please help me. And there was no one else in the temple room, otherwise I wouldn't have done this. But it was a really sincere prayer. And this problem that I'd been fighting with for 6 months, within 2 weeks it was solved. And again, I saw this was the presence of surrendering over to the Lord. Until then, it's like Draupadi, huh? She goes to everybody around and help, but one has to go internally and let the Lord do what's needed to do. Physically, sometimes our health may not improve, but our perspective and our consciousness always has that path through. And not just health, any other perspective. Sometimes things don't change. Could be problems with people, whatever. But our perspective can change so much. Eva, måste du gå in? Okay. Danke, dass du hier war. I just finished on a quote from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Quite simply, look within, amend yourself rather than prying into the frailties of others. So, and also there, from Srimad Bhagavatam, the spirit soul can be happy only in the association of the supreme living being, the personality of Godhead, and nowhere else. Sometimes I see this in a practical sense. With our physical problems or things that seem material, you spiritualize it by bringing it over to the Lord, by praying about it. You can even pray, please, I have this problem. Please, Krishna, let me find a spiritual perspective on how to get with this, because it's really a barrier in my way, huh? And see what happens. Amrita, you look like you want to say something, or you're very thoughtful. Yeah. Yeah, the prayers are very important. I was also plagued by the same problem, because as ladies, we are emotional beings. We like to deal with things, and then we can deal with it. But at some point, it has to process. And then often first thing in the morning, it's processing. So you come with your process. Okay, we just thought this. And you see the devotee or someone you have to work with. So trigger, off you go. And then the mind is racing. In a normal way, it's service. So it becomes tricky then too, because it is service. And yet you are presented with the Lord. So yeah, the prayers are the most important. The other part that I have to say practically, was when I was there in front, and it would just have to say, stop, mind, not now, not now, not now, not now, later, I give you time. And as you're a very practical person, Amrita, I also wrote down, okay, 9 o'clock or whatever, 10 o'clock, all the problems, whatever, going out. Your mind says, but I'll forget them. You won't forget them. On the Lord, okay. And then I had to go even deeper and think, okay, what am I doing here? Mangalati, come take darshan. Okay, where are the lotus feet of the Lord? Okay, I cannot see them. Okay, let me look, go in. To be so present in that moment is the only thing that helps when everything is drowning it out, because people's emotional states overcloud, and then to keep going on that perspective that you can actually be conscious of the beauty of the Lord, be conscious you have enough good experiences to work with all of the troubling things that you have to deal with here on a daily basis. Otherwise, like for me, when I lost that perspective, all I felt, I woke up and it was just trouble. What trouble's gonna face me today? And sure enough, they came. So instead to push it and remember that this is your time for the Lord, the prayers and the conscious thoughts. Stop. Another time for these thoughts, another time. But that's with everything, like if you're troubled about food, okay, at that moment, I will deal with it, dear mind. Like giving it a space and a time to say, okay, this is the moment. Even when you allow yourself an hour in your daily life just to write down all those things which maybe you think you don't have time for, but would just help if they were solved. I've always, again, in your position, I was doing one thing, but I'm thinking of another thing, or like trouble, and you're like, and it becomes very disturbing in one sense, So it's like, just piece it down, piece by piece. And this also helped. And to have one thing I also didn't do, which was with introspective, and it took me bad health, was to have nice time to associate with other devotees where there is no problem to be dealt with or to be faced, where it's actually some positive experience, spiritual experience amongst a sea of other things that are going on. Back to the example of the ocean. I think, I don't want to quote because it may not be exactly with Guru Maharaj, but sort of with management of the things, if you imagine an ocean, these are like the waves that go in. But beyond that, we can dive right into the bottom, the heart, away from these things and go deep into our spiritual perspective, to how we go into the beauty of spiritual life should still be a question for you. You cannot put this on the back, it has to be there as well. How am I enriching myself in spiritual life? It's not a question for 5 years' time. It's like now. Hare Krishna. So, thank you very much. Thank you that you came. I actually like smaller groups because the work can be a little bit more intimate and personal. So, very much. Very nice. Hare Krishna.